Hello, everybody. Happy. Well, it's past midnight. I have to start work in an hour, so I just have to do as much as I can of this right now and post it in an hour and a half. I start at 4, but still, I have to get ready. This is Monday, November 28th, 2022, and I'm just going to read what I've written so far, and then hopefully it might take an hour, but I'm also going to go through all the stocks. I'm not going to be able to do that tonight, but I do have predictions. I wanted to do all the predictions before the stock market opened, but I'm going to do all the predictions maybe in another video where I go through all the charts, draw all the lines, and tell you where all 30 Dow stocks are heading, where all, I think I have 8 media swap stocks, all the pharmaceutical kind of category, defense contractor ones. I only have one tobacco, and that's Altria. But I'm telling you where they're all going to be by like sometime in 2025. I'm going to put it all in one video, and then we'll see if I'm right in 2025. But I just want it all in one place. All right. So without much further ado, let's get on with it. I'm very tired. My voice is gone. Okay. Let's see if we can do this. I'm just going to read, and then every once in a while I have all my stocks up here and all my, what's this? No. Oh, okay. What's that? Oh, sorry about this. I have to get, where's the graph? Anyway, I have everything here. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get to all of this, but we'll see. There's Epic. I wanted to show this graph, but we'll do that later. Okay, for now, we're just going to read. The purpose of this swamp stock tutorial is to show how to spot swampy behavior in a stock chart. And once swampy behavior is spotted, to be able to specify which of the 3 most powerful swamps to date, the tobacco, pharmaceutical, or defense contractor swamps, respectively, is controlling the company and its stock. Swampy behavior has benefited many companies and many politicians since the 16th Amendment to the United States Constitution was ratified in 1913. That is, until the swamp terminator, Donald Trump, came on the scene and began working to reverse the corrupt effects of the 16th Amendment. In 1913, the ratification of the 16th Amendment changed our taxing system dramatically, giving too much power to the federal government, and to Congress in particular, in collecting money directly from powerless individuals and relatively powerless corporations through individual income taxes and corporate income taxes, respectively. This was a big change from the original tax system, where the federal government was strictly forbidden from collecting taxes directly from individuals and corporations, and instead had to collect taxes directly from the state governments because, as the reasoning went, state governments had much more power than individual citizens and corporations, so that they were in a better position to stand up to the federal government to prevent abuse of the taxing system. The federal government was also allowed in the original Constitution, and to this day still, to levy import duty taxes on foreign goods. Due to the nature of foreign trade, import duty taxes are usually negotiated between governments, so the power structures with regard to import duty taxes are once again more evenly matched, because the dealings occur between 2 governments instead of between a government and an individual or a corporation, both of which are far less powerful in a far less powerful negotiation. Both of which are in far less powerful negotiating positions than a foreign government. So the point is government with government, and that's the best way to get the best kind of balance of power. The original taxing system is also simple and transparent. 2 additional characteristics, other than making sure there is a balance of power on both sides of a deal when the tax rate is being determined, where federal taxes for each state are calculated according to a straightforward formula that relies solely on the population of each state In other words, the more people a state has relative to other states in the Union, the more federal taxes the state has to pay to the federal government in direct proportion to the state's population size alone and no other factor. The population size of each state is determined by a national census, which the Constitution dictates be carried out once every 10 years, so that once the portion of the federal tax is determined for each state, the decision remains in place for 10 years until the next census. The only thing Congress can change at this point is increasing or lowering the amount of total money to be raised for the federal government, but not how the taxing burden is to be divided among the states. Each state then has the freedom to decide how it wants to raise the money to pay its share of the tax burden to the federal government. So if the federal government wants to raise the tax burden, they can't just go in and vote and say we're raising it and then, tell the people screw you. They have to go tell the states this, and the states have a little bit of power. They're going to tell the government to go suck it if it's out of control. They're going to want to know why they want it, how the money's going to be spent, and they're going to decide, through Congress, and I'll show you why that's important, and a very big distinction between the current system. This is where most people get confused and defensive when you mention that the 16th Amendment, federal income taxes, and the IRS all have to go, because people often take it that you want to abolish all taxes. They do not realize that there are other, usually better ways for a government to raise taxes other than income taxes. The most common other methods being sales taxes and property taxes. Unlike the federal government, and there's also duty taxes, but unlike the federal government, state and local governments have broad leeway in how they can collect taxes and are allowed to levy direct taxes on its citizens, like individual and corporate income taxes. Because unlike being taxed directly by the federal government, individuals and corporations being taxed directly by the state or local government can shop around and pick a city or a state with the best taxing scheme that meets their needs. A healthy competition naturally arises among state and local governments for creating the best, most efficient taxing system for its citizens, who can simply, if they want to, they could just up and move to a better city or state if they are not happy with the current taxing. This keeps state and local governments' taxing power in check. While states have a broader range of choices when it comes to methods of taxing its citizens, states are forbidden from collecting import duty taxes. The federal government is given the sole power over this area of taxation. Once again, the thinking being that the federal government is in a much better position to negotiate the best deal for all its citizens when dealing with foreign governments. That is, if Trump is the president. The upside for the state with the highest population and highest federal taxes is that, as the Constitution dictates, this state also gets the highest number of representatives to send to Congress to decide how the money is to be spent. This is the most important characteristic of this taxing system because it not only protects every citizen's fundamental human right to no taxation without representation, but it causes accountability to be baked into the system, thereby minimizing corruption once again. And if you haven't picked up the theme, minimizing corruption was the number one goal of the framers of the Constitution, because they understood from personal experience that corruption was the number one enemy of peaceful self-governing. Although it has now taken me almost 800 words to describe this brilliant method of taxation that minimizes corruption and minimizes abuse of government taxing power, all while protecting the most important of all fundamental human rights, the right to no taxation without representation. The original Constitution describes this taxing scheme in just 11 words as the first law to be followed in Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3. Quote, representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states. Over 100 years later, in 1913, after the longest-running peace in world history with the U.S. government running under this system of taxation, The 16th Amendment came in like a wrecking ball and torpedoed the fundamental human right to no taxation without representation. It torpedoed the best possible system for minimizing corruption and torpedoed any possible chance at peaceful self-governing, all in just 31 words. And it goes like this, quote, "The Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes on incomes from whatever source derived, without apportionment among the several states, and without regard to any census or enumeration, thereby turning our," end quote, "thereby turning our capitalistic democracy into the fascist oligarchy we have today. The 16th Amendment also fueled the largest, most frequent, and most expensive wars in history, starting with World War I, which began almost immediately after the 16th Amendment was ratified. But have no fear, the laws of peaceful self-governing are like the laws of physics and cannot be broken just because a handful of aggressive, swampy humans say so. Any system of government that does not follow the fundamental laws of peaceful self-governing, especially the first and most important law of all that protects everybody's fundamental right to no taxation without representation, is financially unsustainable and must fail until all the laws are followed. So the current choice is to take down the 16th Amendment or fail. In other words, support Trumpism, which is just another way of saying take down the 16th Amendment, or fail, as the swampy stocks I am highlighting in this tutorial will verify if you don't want to believe it. The corruption that flows from the 16th Amendment and the federal income tax system it created feeds itself in two main ways, both involving swampy, secretive deals made between Congress and corporations. The first scam occurs in how the income tax money is collected, called the tax the rich scam. And the second scam occurs in how the income tax money is spent, called the income tax money laundering scam. It's actually kind of connected, but okay. The tax the rich scam works as follows. When Congress says, quote, "We in Congress will give you, a swampy person or company that we have handpicked, a special exclusive tax break on personal or corporate income taxes if you promise to take some of the money you save from the tax break and put it into our re-election campaigns or greasy pockets," end quote. The public is led to believe people or corporations that make a lot of money are too powerful and greedy and evil to be left to their own devices and need their incomes taken away from them by the federal government in order to make things fair for poor people. In reality, all that federal income taxes accomplish is an unlevel playing field for a majority of legitimate companies, favoritism by Congress towards swampy companies with crappy products. That would be Microsoft, especially with their crappiest word processing program of all time. Slimy Congress people, a redundant term since the 16th Amendment, who take a big chunk of the money collected from income taxes for themselves before giving a few crumbs back to the poor people. And a tax base in which poor people provide far more money to the federal government on the whole than rich people or corporations, because there are far more poor people and most of them don't get the tax breaks that Congress gives to favored rich people and corporations under this anti-democratic scam. The swamp terminator Trump reversed the effects of this scam by lowering the corporate income tax rate. He also lowered personal income tax too, but this was the important one. Lowered the corporate income tax rate from 35% to 21% in December of 2017. I suspect he also tracked down and put an end to a lot of secret tax break deals between Congress people and corporations behind closed doors. These anti-swamp efforts immediately leveled the playing field for legitimate companies that had previously been forced to pay the full 35% tax by Congress, while their swampy competitors, favored by Congress, were paying far less in income taxes, and many of them zero, like most tobacco companies. The biggest effect can be seen in tobacco swamp stocks, with the stock for Altria, MO is the stock symbol, the maker of Marlboro cigarettes and the leader of the tobacco swamp companies, taking the biggest tumble of all, starting in January of 2018. Any stock chart that shows the stock having a distinct tumble beginning in January of 2018 is considered a potential tobacco swamp stock going forward. Okay, let's look at that. Let's look at the tobacco. Okay, so here's tobacco, and it's doing well, and right here, Trump lowers the income tax rate. And what happened was he also went in and made sure that there weren't all these little deals. I'm pretty sure Marlboro, I've already shown this before, but Marlboro is probably getting zero tax, and now they're getting 21% tax, and it just killed the company. So this is just fake income. This is fake, the company's doing well. I can't swear. My eye. This is more like the real. Anyway, we're going to go through that later. Okay, so I'm going to go through a lot of different charts, and I'm going to look at around the beginning of 2018 and see if it's tanking, and if it is, there's potential that it's a tobacco swamp stock. Okay, so it's like a signature, because that's what I saw, mostly tobacco. I didn't see any of the other swamp stocks doing that. I did see, we'll talk about that later. By the way, I have left out a fourth major swamp in this tutorial, the religion swamp, because there are no stocks for religious institutions, nor for most other nonprofit organizations. I've spelled wrong. I didn't do the spell check. However, these institutions are all pretty much swamp material from organizations. However, these institutions are all pretty much swamp material from the fact that they don't have to pay income taxes, yet they are allowed to donate to election campaigns. They're just swamp. I'll have to go into that some other time, but that's not going to be discussed here. The fourth swamp and the tax-free, what is that called? Yeah, nonprofit, tax-sheltered, whatever. It's all just very swampy area. The income tax money laundering scam works as follows. When Congress says, "We in Congress will give you exclusive government contracts where we purposely pay you far above market prices for your products or services that you don't even have to deliver to us or deliver to us in good condition. And the product can even be harmful to our constituents for all we care. If you promise to take some of the money we're overpaying to you and put it into our re-election campaigns and or greasy pockets." There is little accountability in how income tax money sent to Congress is spent, since the amount of tax money an entity or person sends to Congress, the amount of income tax money an entity or person sends to Congress is unrelated to the say this person has and how the money is spent. Because after the 16th Amendment, there is no link between the amount of income tax paid and the amount of taxes paid at all, and the number of representatives in Congress. With no accountability, Congress will just give money to whatever swampy corporations will give most of the money right back in campaign donations or greasy pocket lining. And Congress typically does this under the umbrella of a fake emergency of some sort. They'll start paying like crazy. They'll say, "Oh, this is an emergency. It needs money." And then they just overpay, and then the money comes back to them. So they just keep creating these emergencies. Mostly wars and global warming, and then the one that I can't mention, the one that shall not be named from Harry Potter. Okay. While the tobacco swamp was the first swamp to implode at the beginning of 2018, it is clear Trump had his eyes set on the pharmaceutical swamp from the outset, as the first thing Trump did his first day in office on January 20th, 2017, was sign an executive order 13765, quote, minimizing the economic burden of the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, end quote. This was Trump's attempt to thwart the taxpayer money laundering scam the income tax money laundering scam. Since Obamacare was the epitome of Congress purposely overpaying swampy companies in the medical and pharmaceutical field for mediocre products and services, that these swampy companies could return a lot of the money so that these swampy companies could return a lot of the money to Congress in the form of campaign contributions and personal gifts. Executive Order 13765 had little effect on pharmaceutical stock prices, however, because it meant nothing unless and until Obamacare was repealed by Congress. A few months later, in the spring of 2017, Senator John McCain was promised an antidote for the brain cancer that was given to him the same way the same rare brain cancer was given to Senator Ted Kennedy and to Vice President Joe Biden's son, Beau Biden, by the same pharmaceutical swamp. Oh, I promised there would be no swearing. Well, okay. I don't know how to describe these people. They're gay, they're Nazis, and that makes them assholes. Now, I'm not saying that all gay people are Nazis. I'm saying all Nazis are gay people. And that includes Hitler, and that includes, everybody I name that is a Nazi is gay. Okay, just by my definition. And I haven't seen a Nazi yet who isn't closeted gay. Openly gay, maybe not so much, but the closeted gays, they're Nazis. And I have a whole other tutorial on that. So it's hard for me to describe. It's just a perfect description of what they are. And of course, the a-holes. Well, gay Nazi. Okay, anyway, I'm so used to calling them that. I'm sorry. I promise no swearing, but only if McCain promised to protect the pharmaceutical swamp and cast the deciding no vote that summer on July 27, 2017, in a congressional resolution to repeal Obamacare. The swamp Nazis lied, of course, and McCain died in vain a year later anyway, without any kind of antidote. Meanwhile, Trump was forced to use other methods to combat the powerful pharmaceutical swamp. It took 2 years. I remember this. I remember him working on this for 2 years with that one. The guy was gay, of course, but he worked on the pharmaceutical stuff, like lowering those prices and stuff. But Trump's next executive order addressing Congress purposely overpaying pharmaceutical swamp companies for drugs for Medicare recipients. It's called Executive Order 13877. Quote, improving price and quality transparency in American healthcare to put patients first. Signed on June 24, 2019. Did the trick this time around, as pharmaceutical swamp stocks visibly tumbled as a result of this executive order, with the stock for Pfizer, the maker of the Alzheimer's causing drug Xanax, and the leader of the pharmaceutical swamp stocks, taking the biggest hit beginning in early July 2019. The pharmaceutical swamp, however, was far more powerful than Trump had anticipated, and after Trump spent most of the rest of 2019 pushing for lowering prescription drug prices even further for Medicare recipients, the government is the number one purchaser of pharmaceuticals, so it's a big deal when they're overcharged, which they are purposely by Congress, including introducing a brilliant proposal to place prescription drugs under the favored nation status. That was brilliant because it's using the swamp stuff against them. Anyway. Pfizer and the rest of the pharmaceutical swamp had already put the pieces in place for a fake emergency that would serve several convenient purposes, the same way the fake emergency on September 11th, 2001 served several convenient purposes for the defense contractor swamp at the time. One convenient purpose was that the manufactured market plunge that occurred in March of 2020 as a result of the fake emergency covered up the natural plunge that Pfizer stock was going to take at the time anyway. You could see it in the stock with or without the cover of a fake emergency. Another convenient purpose was the fake emergency weakened Swamp Terminator Trump, not Trump, for re-election, so that Joe Biden, who hails from the pharmaceutical swamp and was Obamacare's biggest swampy deal maker when he was vice president with Congress, could come into office and revive the taxpayer money laundering scam, which Biden did in spades, as can be seen in pharmaceutical swamp stocks taking off the minute Biden took office in January 2020, and nearly doubling over the next 2 years until the pharmaceutical money laundering scam had run its course at the end of 2021 and pharmaceutical swamp stocks began to decline almost as quickly as they had risen. Okay. Any stock chart that shows either of the two main characteristics mentioned above is considered a potential pharmaceutical swamp stock going forward. And I'll show you them right now. We're going to do the pharma stocks, which is, I'm ignoring this. Right here, you see a very visible bonk right after. So right here is where Trump does the executive order for pricing, and it dips lower than it was here. And then it goes up, and then it dips again, and it's just dying. Now the second dip is March 2020. So here's the summer of 2019, boop, and then it tries to recover, and then March 2020, and it's just like a part of the swamp tanking. It would have done that whether or not there was, the merge. You don't see the. Anyway, and then it's like, it's struggling. Right here, okay, Biden is in office, and the stock goes up until around December 2020, and then down. I should get the one that shows these. Anyway, so we're talking for tobacco. We're looking at January 2018 through June, like the beginning of 2018, to see if there's an effect. With this one, it's the summer of 2019 for an effect, and then also December, like the end of 2021, and we see what I love this. It's called "The Christmas Isn't Canceled, Just You Swampy Pieces of." No, actually, I can't swear. This, when somebody discovers something, they get the name like a peak after you discover a mountain. Well, I'm naming this one "The Christmas Isn't Canceled, Just You Swampy Swamp People." There you go. No more swearing. But that's it. Like, it's just beginning of the cancellation. Oh no, okay. Let's just say Christmas Isn't Canceled, Just You Pharmaceutical Swamp, because that's the one that canceled at that time. So that's it. That was the release of the Kelly Clarkson Christmas album right there too. So, and it's Christmas Isn't Canceled. I love it. And I love it as applied to the swamps, especially the pharmaceutical swamp, because I have, real issues with them since 1994. I've been waiting for that Pfizer to tank. So that's Pfizer. That is the king and the leader of the pharmaceutical swamp stocks. And those two indicators are going to tell me if it's a pharmaceutical swamp stock. And if they don't have those indicators, it's a real. There's some pharmaceutical companies that didn't have any of those effects, and I think they're real, and they should just stay on the market, stay on the Dow. I'm trying to get some things removed from the Dow. Okay, so the sharp drop in the price beginning in July 2019, just after Trump's anti-price gouging executive order, and a sharp uptick beginning in January and peaking in late. Oh, it did begin in January. Okay, it begins in January when Biden took office and peaks in late 2021. So most of 21. Why did I say 2 years later? It really began, it's only 1 year later, not 2 years later. Anyway, I made a mistake earlier. I said 2 years later it peaked. No, the peak, the Christmas Isn't Canceled, Just You peak is a year long, and it peaks at the end of, and since then they've been tanking. It's been a year tanking. Anyway, note that the income tax money laundering scam can be seen with defense contractor swamp stocks too, due to the fake emergency called the Ukrainian war and the fake emergency called global warming. If those two, global warming and wars, are what the defense contractor stocks control, or what the defense contractor swamps control, those kind of companies. One of them is to squeeze money from the Republicans, and the other one's to squeeze money from the Democrats, but they've got them coming and going. If a stock has risen sharply over the last 6 months, it is considered a potential defense contractor swamp going forward. This scam has probably from the Ukraine money. Like, just over the last year, or last 6 months, I think like over 100 billion has been sent to Ukraine and to global warming. That's a lot of money. And when you send money to Congress over these fake emergencies, it just goes straight into stock money. And I'll show you how that comes around. But that's not going to anything except buying stocks. buying swampy stocks. Okay, that's where most of that money's going, and you could see it. Anyway, 6 months. This scam has probably been used by the defense contractor swamp since the start of the country, since wars were always the excuse Congress used to temporarily suspend the Constitution during the 19th century in order to raise money for a fake war with illegal income taxes, if only for a few years at a time before the illegal law expired. Yeah, so I said the 19th century was peaceful, and it was, except for every once in a while there was a war when they wanted to get a temporary income tax. It's an emergency. It's a war. We really need the money. So they just were already practicing using the income tax, even though, and the only way it was allowed is if they said it expired. Well, it kept going until they finally said, well, it's not expired with the 16th Amendment. It's just a gradual deterioration of our rights in our Constitution. And we're getting it back now because we have no choice. I think I already said it's financially unsustainable. All right. Note that that's the defense contractor swamp. So over the last few years, you'll see it. But there's however, a better indication of a potential defense contractor swamp stock is the insider trading scam, which was developed to avoid detection whenever a swampy company, a swamp company was trying to put money into swampy election campaigns. Funny thing is, non-gay dumbass morons, and I don't know any other description to put for that. I'm just going to use that. They're not gay, and they're dumbass morons. And everybody's like jealous of that. It's so, Trump was very, when I say jealous, it's just it just describes it, and I don't know how else to put it. But their non-gay dumbass morons believe that the best way to solve a problem is to make a law preventing the problem. Like the best way to stop the money flow from swampy companies back into the re-election campaigns of swampy congresspeople is to make a law that limits the amount of money a person or company can donate to a campaign, which is the equivalent of making a law that says the wave is not allowed to come up on the sand. It's so stupid. I can't even... Enforcing... you can't just make a law. You have to have a law that is enforceable, and enforceable equally. And this is so stupid. You can't enforce that law. It's stupid. You can't enforce the law. At least reasonably. And when that happens, it just makes... That's the whole purpose of it, by the way, when they make a law like that. They get the people to say, this is to do this, and then, okay, anyway, that's what non-gay dumbass morons think. They believe that. If we make a law, it's going to stop it. It's just, there's more to making laws than that. Of course, the swamps found workarounds to the laws because there's just so much money involved. So much power imbalance. It's the government versus an individual with the income taxes. Are you kidding me? You think the individual has a chance? Of course, the swamps found workarounds to the laws so that only legitimate politicians and legitimate companies followed the law, of course, as always happens, while the swampy politicians and companies left them in the dust with the workarounds, which is the same thing that happened with income tax laws until Trump began to get rid of them. It just makes an unlevel playing field, and you have to level the playing field and lift the laws. That's what happens. Anyway, the way this scam worked is instead of giving money directly to a swampy campaign, a swampy company simply told the congressperson when to buy the company's stock and how many shares to buy, etc. Then the company would dump a bunch of money into buying the stock after the congressperson bought the stock. So the price rose rapidly. Then the politician would sell the stock at a designated price to receive the money he or she would have gotten if she just got the money directly from the company. It's just indirectly, insider trading. This method was used so heavily and so obviously in the charts for all the it's obvious in the charts for all the major indices during the 2008 election year that the Supreme Court eliminated the useless ban on election campaign contributions in 2010 in the infamous Citizens United decision, since the campaign finance restriction was only working against legitimate politicians and companies, and it was favoring the swamps. Of course, that's what the purpose of it was from the very beginning. That was no accident, by the way. In our brains, the non-gay dumbass morons think it's an accident. It was no accident. By the way, when a high-level politician like Hillary Clinton says her number one goal after becoming president is to reinstate Citizens United, it's an indication that she's a 100% swamp-based politician. It's an indication. Also, when somebody says Citizens United needs to go because the decision to lift the ban needs to go because it is what allowed Trump to become president. It's simplest just to make a mental note that these people are swamp Nazis and just move on. Do not argue with these people. It's good to know who's a swamp Nazi and who isn't when you're trying to do stuff, and that's one indication. It's so obvious when they're against Citizens United. It's just very Nazi. So everybody got the memo on Citizens United except the defense contractor swamps, as most of them continued with the pattern of taking a big dip every election cycle, as is best seen. Oh, let me show you the dip. Okay, so here's Dow and S&P, and it really happened in 2008. Like, it happened a little bit in 2002, like midterm elections, maybe 2000. No, it was mostly midterm 2002. I'm not sure what happened there. But this is the Dow, and right there in 2008, plump. Oh, it's a recession. My ass. Yep, that is here. The candidates needed money. The swampy companies couldn't give it to them directly. They said, buy the stock here, and we'll sell it. Oh, no, wait a minute. Oh, what happened? Oh, no, they shorted it. Oh, my God, it's the opposite effect. What am I saying? Buy the stock and we'll short and we'll sell it, and then you'll get the money there. Well, whatever it is, if there's a change in stock, and yeah, it's not buying, it's selling the stock. Or it could be buying and then they sold it later. So they'll buy, like, here. Well, here it is. Go like this, buy it, and then after we're done buying, we just sell it off ourselves because they didn't want all this stock. It's just overinflated, and they made money off of shorting it. But whatever it is, it's stock manipulations, and you can make money either going up direction or down direction, but you can't make money when it's just kind of going steady. So another indication of stock manipulations and this kind of what I'm calling this insider trading scam is a lot of volatility in the stock. Like, look at this going on here. Anyway, so this effect is seen in the Dow. Here's the S&P, and a lot less in NASDAQ because the Dow is only 30 stocks, easily manipulated. S&P is only 500 stocks, but the NASDAQ is like 2,500. It's very hard to manipulate the NASDAQ in this manner, though it's very swampy with a lot of pharmaceutical stocks, and I'll show that later. Anyway, God. So everybody got the memo on Citizens United because in 2008, we said, okay, this has gotten to be crazy stupid. Like, people getting around the people getting around the law for campaign contributions. They're just contributing through stock manipulations, right? So I'm surprised, but here it is. The Supreme Court, which I thought was weak, had a very good ruling that said forget it. And once that happened, you don't see it happening anymore until now. But it's not like here where every time there's an election year, you see a huge dip, And it didn't happen. It happened a little bit here in 2016 with Trump, 2016 a little more, and a lot more lately. But anyway, Citizens United had the effect of, undoing that kind of insider trading a little bit. It's still going on like crazy. So everybody got the memo on Citizens United except defense contractor swamps. Defense contractor swamp stocks. As most of them continued with the pattern of taking a big dip every election cycle, as is best seen with American Express and Caterpillar stock charts. Caterpillar is a defense contractor swamp stock. From this graph, I didn't know that beforehand, but now I thought about it. It's probably because it gets a bunch of government contracts to rebuild cities after a fake war has torn the city apart. So I'm guessing that the $50 billion Ukraine aid is going to go into Caterpillar stock. And that makes sense because Caterpillar, let me explain something to you about the stocks too. So for the Dow is actually also not like you would think. It's called a price weighted, which means a stock that has a very high price like United Global Health, it just goes up a little bit, and because like it'll go up by 1% or 50 points, and that's going to add a lot more than a stock way down here like Intel. Intel is only costs $50 versus $500. So when it goes up by 1%, it affects the Dow by 1 point or 5 points. So 5 points versus 50 points for the same percentage increase in their stocks. And it's just the way the Dow has always worked, but it makes it very manipulative. And you can see, so like I just wanted to see what stock was manipulating the stock market the most here in the 2020 drop. And I also wanted to see what stock was manipulating the stock market here, where they claimed that October was the best Dow month in 50 years or something. So that was manipulated, and I just wanted to see what Dow. So I went and I calculated all the point changes for all 30 Dow stocks for both places. I'll show you. So the point between February 2014 and the low at March 20th, 2020, around there, I think it was 23rd. I love that date, by the way. That just happened to be what came up when you looked at the charts. Let me show you how I did that. Let's just go real fast. Just fast. We got to get more into the charts here. We'll do Dow. So here's the beginning. Oh, it used to be February 23rd. Why does it say January 10 now? Hold on. Sorry. Anyway, I can't get it. It came up before. It's these things changed to whatever. Never mind. So it used to say February 14th. Now it says January 31st. Anyway, down to March 20th. And those are all, and then this second one began, as I'm going to say, September 1st through October 30th for the month of October. But anyway, you get all these prices, and I just did it very easily off the 5-year chart. It's not exact, but it shows when you, so wait a minute, let's do the point change. And it shows that when you order it according to point change, let's order it from A to Z. The biggest point change in stock happened with Boeing, which fell 245 points. 72% was Boeing. So that's a big defense contractor stock, which caused that. I mean, and a lot of, like, you can see it's manipulated because a lot of the stock prices, like, what is the last stock price? Like, it began here. All the biggest numbered stock, like you don't go, oh, the pharmaceutical industry and the defense industry and these industries tanked. What you do is you're looking at the highest. You want to see which stock. If I'm going to predict which stocks are going to tank the most on that day by manipulating, I'm going to pick all the stocks with the highest stock prices. And that's going to be Goldman Sachs. It's going to be Home Depot, and you see that a lot. And United Health Global. Where is it? And they're always move the most when you want the market to move the most. Those are the ones. So I just wanted to see what the big change was in percent and points for that October rally that's called. And it was the biggest point change was Caterpillar. Guess what? Caterpillar. So yeah, they're the ones that are defense contractor, and that's why I said now is defense contractor. But here's the other reason. Look at this. So let's look at the two I mentioned, American Express. And you say, American Express? What the heck is that? American Express is the only stock on the Dow that's owned mostly by, that and Coca-Cola, owned mostly by Berkshire Hathaway. And Berkshire Hathaway does most of their investing in oil companies, which are defense contractor. So So that explains why Visa doesn't have this, and but I'll show you American Express stock, and we'll see what this phenomenon that I showed you about. Check this out. Like, look at this. It's so obvious. I love this chart. It's like 2000, 2008, 2016, 2020. It's like a huge stock. Like they're just doing this insider trading. And then now for the midterms, and it's just so obvious that in when I say the defense contractor swaps didn't get the memo on the insider trading, check out Caterpillar. I mean, it's the same thing. Like, watch this. It's like, whoa, 2000. Oh, it started in, okay. But the other thing is called the Bart Simpson. I call it the Bart Simpson head. You know, he has this jagged head. The thing is, it's very volatile. Look at how volatile the stock is. So Caterpillar, now I'm not saying the company itself and the CEO and all these guys are swampy. I'm saying this company, which might be legitimate, it might make, and I'll show you, some of these are legitimate and they make legitimate things and have other businesses going other than this. But these happen to be companies that are really swampy as far as the insider trading with Congress. And I'm not sure it should be on the Dow. So it's marked by, and then we're going to show you Boeing real fast. Check out Boeing too. It does the same thing. This is the biggest mover on, and I'm going to show this real fast. So these are defense contractor swamps. And they all are this. They're all very volatile. You've seen all the stocks, and like the Dow goes up like this, and some of these others. Check this out. So this is, here it comes. It's got a huge dip in 2008, and then check this one out. It goes up until March of 2000. So this is the thing. Remember when I said beginning of 2008, when it goes down or starts going up, it's a tobacco swamp, or that it had special tax breaks that doesn't get. That could be it, or it could be for the defense contractor. It could be just defense contractor insider trading going on for the 2018 midterms. So I'm not sure with the defense contractor swamps if it's a mixture of that or tobacco, but one thing that tells you it's defense contractor and not tobacco is, first of all, it's Boeing. It is a defense contractor stock, but it's also these very volatile, very, and check this out too. So when I look at the shape of this, it goes up, and then you have the Bart Simpson kind of like a lot of stock manipulation, up and down, up and down, up and down. Every time it's going up by a lot, it's a congressperson making money off it. Then it goes down a lot, it's a stock person, because they know ahead of time which way the stock is going. But check this out. It goes up and then down, and then a second one, and then it's gonna, look at this. It's the same thing here. 2001. Look what happened during the other emergency. Here's this emergency. That big dip right there is the emergency that shall not be named, like Harry Potter. But check this out. It goes up, and then you have even the little peak looks the same, and then down, and then a second up, and then a down, and it just has the same pattern as 2001. Like, even then, and it was known by everybody that it was a very manipulated stock. And you say, why is it dipping so much? Because of this emergency. And they'll say, oh, because all the airlines were grounded. No, Boeing actually did very well, because while the airlines were grounded, all the Amazon and all the delivery planes like doubled. So there's just as many planes in the air. So there's no reason for that. And by the way, it did way better. It did way worse than like American Airlines if you look at the stocks. Like, why? Because it's just manipulated. I'm going to show another thing that happens later. And it is a couple of things when I start to, I'm not going to have time because I have to get ready to go to work pretty soon. But I start going through the stocks. If the 2020 low went past the manipulation, the last manipulation was 2016 dip right there. If it's going down like it's like lower than the last kind of, like I said, the last manipulation, I say these are actual bottoms too, by the way. Let's do this. Let's look at. But if it goes lower than the last true bottom right there, that means the stock is kind of doing poorly. It's not going to do that well. And if the stock now is below the 2020, it means the stock is going out of business. It means the business is going out of business. It has no hope. And the only ones that dip below the 2020 right now are the ones that are controlled by two different swamps. Like this is pure defense contractor. And the reason I know is because the stock is still up here and it's going to do okay. I'll show you what the stock price is going to be in 2025 when I do all the graphs later. It's going to be all right, but it still shouldn't be on the Dow, I think. It's just so manipulated. But, like, anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me just, okay. So everybody got the memo on Citizens United, meaning stop doing insider trading with the Congress, between Congress and companies, except the defense contractors swamp stocks, as most of them continued with the pattern of taking a big dip every election cycle, as is best seen with American Express and Caterpillar stock charts. Caterpillar is a defense contractor swamp stock because it gets a bunch of government contracts to rebuild cities after a fake war has torn the city apart. By the way, another insider trading scam characteristic is high volatility in the stock. Since that since that is the only way to make money off of a stock, which is the only Dow stock other than Coca-Cola. I'm whose majority shareholder Berkshire, not in Badfire, likes to invest in oil companies which fall into defense. Okay, I don't know what I'm writing there. I'm getting toward the end of my writing and I'm going really fast. So let's do this. The last two scams I described briefly are the administrative agency safety first scam and the international version of the income tax money laundering scam. For the safety first scam, Congress says will hinder your competitors with fake safety violations or overlook your real safety violations, and also see to it that you don't have to worry about any negligence lawsuits that stem from this, because we'll give you immunity from lawsuits too if you put money into our re-election campaigns and greasy pockets. This is most famous with like the master settlement agreement with tobacco, which it says we won't sue you as long as you give money to us. I mean, it's like we won't let citizens sue you. I mean, this is government. We won't let citizens sue you, but you have to give money to us and the government. It's like all the attorney generals it's so swampy. And that was good. That's one swamp thing. But the other one is all pharmaceutical companies are immune on all sorts of different ways. But a lot of it is like on vaccines, they're all immune from being sued over negligent vaccines. Now, what do you think that's going to cause? What do you think that's going to happen from that? I mean, you can't do that because that's the number one, anti-corruption for a capitalist world are the lawsuits. And people don't like lawsuits, but just because the propaganda has come out that it's bad, but they're anyway. Okay. So that's one scam is the safety violations by the administrative agencies, by the way, because it's all like FDA and EPA and all these people enforcing this thing, and these are administrative agencies are unconstitutional. They're just another arm of Congress. And also see to it that you don't have to worry about negligence lawsuits if you put money. Okay. The way the international version of the income tax money laundering scam works is Congress tells international companies and even entire countries, we'll lower your input duty tax to zero if you put money into our re-election campaigns. The main tool used by Congress for the safety first scam is the administrative agencies, which are just another arm of Congress, paid for by your illegally collect income tax money to make sure you remain powerless against agencies like the IRS. Trump countered that scam by cutting regulations more than any president in history to level the playing field for legitimate companies. The way the international version of the income tax money laundering scam manifests itself is in massive trade imbalances with other countries to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars a year being transferred to countries like China this way. Show the graph of the duty taxes. Okay, the way Trump countered this scam was in making value. Okay, so this is important when I'm writing my paper, which I'm going to next. I think I'm going to just read my epic. I call it epic that I finished 2019, 3 years ago now. So there's epic, and then there's epic 2, which is the the one I did last year at this time I'm publishing. I'm just going to read them all probably. 3:23. Okay, almost an hour now. So this is in my paper called Epic, and it shows fraud in the Dred Scott case, which brought about the Civil War, and also helped eventually do all the amendments to the Constitution, starting with the 13th, 14th, 15th. They all have to go. These are all horrible, and the 16th is the mother of all. But you see, in 1910, the legal taxes, this is the federal U.S. government revenue, and it shows excise taxes, which is sales taxes, and tariffs, import duty taxes. And there's other, which are not direct taxes, but look at this. Corporate income tax and income tax of people is like negligible because it's illegal, right? And then here's the 13th Amendment, 1913. Look at the 1920. Look what happens in just 5 years. Or, I mean, you can see in the graph what happens in 1913. Like by 1914, we go from almost 90% of taxes being the correct legal ones to almost 90% of the taxes being corporate and federal, corporate and personal income taxes. Okay, so the reason being, as I said, once the 16th Amendment made it legal for the government to do this, of course they're going to take the easy way out because, they don't have to work, and they can make all these fuzzy deals with all this money coming in. They could, make the deals with other countries. Like, they have money now, so they don't depend on they don't have to make the best deal possible with the duty taxes, and they don't have to, make the best deal possible with sale taxes with the state. This is from state, by the way, probably. It comes from the state. Anyway, so what happened is this. So when Trump, and this is all the trade imbalances. So what happens when a government is 90% based on income taxes and you try to repeal the 16th Amendment? Well, you got to have income from somewhere, and because it's not going to be from income. So that's what Trump is working on. Whenever you see Trump going around for years doing what's called, making these trade deals and trying to balance them out, he's trying to get the government weaned off of income taxes over here so that it's mostly tariffs. And then the excise taxes is going to be an easy switch, because when you switch from income taxes to sales taxes, we're just going to take off, because that really taxes the right people fairly. If you're rich and you're buying big expensive things, you're going to pay a lot in taxes. If you're broke and the only thing you're buying are food and used clothing and used cars, because anything used in an excise tax system is not taxable. It should be. I mean, I think the DMV, which is a swamp, gosh, they try to make you pay taxes on selling used cars. No, in a truly capitalistic, according to the Constitution, anything used is not taxable. So that also helps your recycling business, and and everybody recycles more because you have to pay taxes on new stuff. You buy at used clothes places, you fix used things, and it does so much, and it taxes the real people who deserve it, and then it's easy to trace it, and also it goes toward what it should be, because anyway. 16th Amendment needs to go, and if this graph doesn't convince you, and also tell you what Trump is doing when he's trying to deal with these things, he's trying to get rid of the swamp money coming in from this stuff. And I should explain this better, but okay. So that's that. Look at the company stocks and make predictions. Okay, so we looked at tobacco, we looked at pharma, we're going to look at some pharmaceutical stocks. So here's Merck. It's got a huge, what is that? The insider trading in 2008, and it's got another one here in 2016, and it even has a little bit of maybe it was getting tax breaks, because you have a little bit of that tobacco, or maybe it's got tobacco money in there too. And by the way, okay, we're going to go through this, but look at this. It didn't have any effect. I have to look at Merck. This is 2020. There's no big dip the way it is for, did I show Pfizer? I did. Okay, big dip right there in early June, and then the Christmas isn't canceled peak at the end of 2019. Now, so I'm going to say, and another thing that happens is the peak here doesn't go lower than any of the swamp dips. I mean, it does, but it's not. I mean, the peak here, if you're going to say this is lower and therefore the company's going to do poorly, or this is below 2020 where the company is going to go out of business, it has to be like a significant peak that we could see here. I think that might be it. I don't know. And if it's lower, who knows? But anyway, it looks like, so if I'm drawing the graph, I'm saying these the down cycles from the insider trading are true down. That's the real value of the stock. After they're done insider trading, they sell until you can't sell anymore, and it bounces. So I'm going to draw a line. If we're going to draw a line, I'll tell you how much. I want to do this real fast because people are already showing up. We're going to draw a line, and it's going to go like this. And I'm going to predict, I don't know, something like this. So all the pharmaceutical swamps, by the way, are overpriced. And I'm going to say 2015 is somewhere around 8. 2018, 2015. 8 plus 5, 2023. Oh, it's something like this. Whatever. I'm going to say Merck has to come down, and by it has to come down to like $75 by mid 2025. And there goes my alarm. I'm going to put it on snooze. It's time to almost get ready for work. I snooze and snooze and snooze a bunch of times. Okay, so anyway, so I'm going to make the predictions. I'm going to do all the Dow stocks, all the pharmaceutical swamp. So I'm going to say Merck is a little bit swampy with insider trading, but they are a legitimate business. Oh, you know what they do? Oh, you know what they have though? This is the so from 2020, the low in 2020, which is here, to the high in the end of 2019, it's not double. You went from 75 to 100. That's not, I mean, it's a little bit swampy. It is going to come down, as I just said, by a lot, but it's not going out of business. And it is swampy, but it's not, and it's on the Dow, so maybe it should come off, but we'll see. All right, so next stock we're going to come down. We're going to see Procter & Gamble, swampy, and who knows what's going on here. I'm going to talk about this later, but it's still going to have to come down, because the other thing was, if it's displaying swampy behavior, the rule is you have to use the swampy behavior downs as the graph for where it's heading, like something like this. I'm not going to go up there. It's got to come down a lot. This one's a lot more swampy, but it doesn't come down low. And yeah, look at that. It definitely has a pharmaceutical peak, and I believe here to here, 100 to. It didn't double, though. It didn't double from here. Oh, actually, yeah, that's the 2020 peak. That's right. Actually, it did. Look at this. Oh my God, what's the matter with me? Procter & Gamble. Let's just do this right. I'm sorry, people. Okay, I'm gonna do this right. P&G stock. P&G. Procter & Gamble. So, what is this? Oh no, that's the 2020. So look at this. No effect from the anti-price gouging. No effect. I don't know what this is up here, February 2021. But this is, I don't know what that is. But this is the 2020. That's just the regular, and this is the peak. And it's not like it went up by a lot from there. It didn't double. So one thing I wanted to show real fast. I just went through the pharmaceuticals. Whatever. Johnson & Johnson, there's one that doesn't look good because it does break. Amgen, these guys they all have the peak. This is, I don't know what that is. That is more like defense contractor. Oh, this one is looking pretty ugly. It's not ugly. It's going to be okay, because as long as that, but I'm telling you also, pharmaceutical needs to tank. So these guys is tanking next. Here it is, Microsoft. Okay, so Microsoft, what the hell is this doing with the Christmas isn't canceled peak? It's pharmaceutical. I could have told you that pharmaceutical was before I saw this, and I could have told you Google. I think I did tell you. I said pharmaceutical swamp stock Microsoft, and I said pharmaceutical swamp stock Google, and that was before I even saw the peak. Look at that. It's Christmas isn't canceled pharmaceutical swamp peak for both of these companies. Okay, and you get some of these characteristics, but there's going to have to come way down because pharmaceutical swamp, and it's solely pharmaceutical swamp. Anyway, so one I wanted to show you was Eli Lilly. Now, Eli Lilly is cracking me up. Oh, wait a minute. We're going to do defense real fast. So defense. This is swampy because it's some of them are pretty good. Lockheed Martin, it affected it. Like, it did have a little bit of an effect at the beginning of 2000, but it's not like you get the typical, the insider trading stuff. A little bit here, but it stopped. And then here you have it was favored a little bit with taxation, like a little bit of tobacco stuff, but it recovered and it's not doing too bad. But one of the this is the worst. Look at General Dynamics. It is so swampy. It's like anyway, when I calculate this got to go down by a lot. Northrop is not so bad because the second one up here, and you don't get the swamp. You get the big swamp in 2008 is the big one, the big insider trading stuff going on there. Honeywell too, they go way down in 2020, and look at that. Honeywell, it actually has the Pfizer Christmas. Okay, and then we're gonna show real fast. Oh my God, this is so bad. So Tesla's my favorite. Tesla's my favorite because really fast. I've got 10 more minutes. 3:35. Okay, before I get ready. So, if you've watched because it's just so ridiculous. This is the 2020 low, and it's so ridiculous. This is funny. It's got to be Trump doing this. Because if you watch The Gilded Age, which is by a swamp person, what's her name? Shonda whatever. She's totally a tobacco swamp, by the way. But when you watch the Netflix, which is tobacco sitcom, not sitcom, it's oh God, this is so bad. I'm going to post it anyway, because when I post the other stuff, I want to show you what I'm doing. I just want to go through this swamp stuff. There's a trick in there where they call them robber barons, which cracks me up because they were like the best capitalists we've had so far. They were capitalism at its best, but the robber baron is featured in this thing, and all the swampy politicians come in, and they were going to do this insider trading thing on him. What they were going to do for themselves is they were going to tank his stock and make money off. Like, they were going to make a decision that would tank his stock and make money off it while they did that. That was the other insider trading thing, is they switch information. Like, Congress knows they're going to do an adverse ruling or an adverse vote on a stock. They'll short it, and then they'll do the vote, and then they'll make money off it. I mean, this is so bad. But one thing that happened, this guy did the opposite. He spread the rumor that, or whatever it was, that it's going to tank, and then he spent all his money doing what's called a short squeeze. Now, the thing about shorting a stock is, if you buy a stock and it goes up and it goes down, the most you could lose is what you put. Like, you buy $200 worth, it goes up, and then it goes out of business. You lose $200. The thing about shorting a stock is it's an infinite amount of money you could lose. If you short a stock here at 200, which means you sold it, and then it goes up forever, you could pay like infinite. And that's what happened here with Trump. I think he took Elon Musk's stock. He told Microsoft, Bill Gates, gay guy, total swamp, pharmaceutical swamp, Nazi, the whole 9 yards with this guy. And he told them and a bunch of swampy Congress people, he spread the rumor, we're going to tank Tesla. We're going to take Tesla. He put $300 million apparently way back here. But I calculate this was Trump doing this, and he killed so many swamp people doing this. It's just so funny. I mean, when I do it, it's still going to go down to, I'll show you where it goes down to, but it's just outrageous how good the stock, I mean, you don't go up 200, and it's a defense contractor swamp, but I think it was in a good way that Trump used this stock to clear out. And in the movie on Netflix, they're so woke and so dumb that they try to make it so that you feel sorry for the politician who got fleeced doing this, trying to manipulate the stocks in his favor, because that's not doing anything for your constituents. It's just greed and swampiness. And they try to blame this. They tried to make this guy committed suicide, the politician who lost all this money, and we're supposed to feel sorry for him, and we're supposed to blame this the robber baron on that. It's like, because he didn't show him mercy or whatever, and he felt a little bit bad, but it's like tough titties. And then there was another guy who took his lumps and went on with it, and he says, yeah, we risked and we took it, and that guy should be okay. But to make us try to hate this guy or something, or love to hate him, whatever it is so stupid, because Trump just did this, and I think he did it here. But the reason I'm showing this is because, let me show this. Chevron, everything's going down. All the gas companies are going down because they're just as ugly as can be. Look at this. Now, they all go down because they're all participating. Look at this. Every 5 years, and what is that called? The Bart Simpson going down. And also, here's what I told you about. This is the, what I told you they did. There's a peak in the end of 2021. There's a peak now. So first to tank is going to be tobacco. Second to tank is starting to be pharmaceutical. But the last to tank is going to be the defense contractor, swampy stocks. And that's this guy. And they're going out of business. Because look how bad this was. It's tanking so bad. All of them. Like even worse, like Shell. These are all swampy. Look at all the stock price manipulations, and especially the final, like this is Ukrainian money going into this. That's just Ukraine money, and it's just so swampy. So those peaks of those Chevron. Anyway, I'll do that later. Caterpillar, swampy, and 3M. So I look at this. Let's do 3M real fast. This is on the Dow. And it's one of 4 stocks that are now below their 2020 lows. That means there are 2 swamps. What are the 2 swamps that are affecting this? Well, it could be tobacco, because you got this thing. You definitely have pharmaceutical. You have the Christmas isn't canceled peak at the end of 2021. I can't decide if it's tobacco, because but whatever it is, it's a mix, and it's going out of business. Period. Because if it's below the 2020, it's going out of business. I keep thinking, because there's this here and there's this here, that it's defense contractor. But if it were defense contractor, we should have a huge defense contractor peak here too. So, but maybe not. Maybe when it's mixed, they just gave up on it. Okay. So I'm going to go through all the stocks, but let's do the media swamp stocks really fast, just for fun. Oh, the reason I said that was because when you go to Eli Lilly, it's the same thing except for the pharmaceutical swamps. It just looks like another thing that happened was, if you look at the Dow, I already went through this. So here's the effect of, let's say, 340. This is the effect. And now I can't see a specific stock, but I think when you look at the Dow, especially the NASDAQ, I guess, you could see Obama, and then the Trump is going up like this. I think that's just the effect of lowering the regulations, trying to balance the trade imbalances, doing all that lifts all the stocks, and that's what that is. But when you when you look at Eli Lilly, some of these stocks actually improved right after 2000. Like, it's going along, and then in 2018, it kind of like, it didn't dip, it just took off. So when Trump took down the income tax, the non-swampy companies just took off. And I think he used Eli Lilly to just do another stock squeeze, like they told everybody to, because this took off because it's the number 1 competitor of Pfizer. And the only problem is they sell, there are two antidepressant or happy pills. One of them is Prozac that I always attack, and the other one is Xanax. So Prozac, though, is what's that called? Selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. And then Xanax is the, what do they call that? What is that? Diazepam? Benzodiazepams. And there's a difference between the two, and I'm getting the feeling now that Xanax alone and Zoloft too was doing nothing. By the way, Zoloft did nothing, but it's a SSRI like this one, but it was doing nothing. They were just selling like salt or something. They were selling something that didn't do anything, just like, whatever. But so that's Pfizer. Pfizer has Zoloft and they have Xanax, but Zoloft just Eli Lilly with their Prozac just beat the hell out of them. But I think Xanax, there might be a difference between Xanax because it's looking like Pfizer is going to get nailed with really bad side effects from Xanax that they knew about, whereas it's looking like Prozac from the stock, and I think it's Trump doing this. I mean, it might come down. It's going to come down, I think, again, but it just looks too perfect and straight up and everything like that. So anyway, that's cracking me up. So it's looking like Eli Lilly and Tesla might be Trump manipulated to do short squeezes on these swampy guys. Good for them. So if we look really fast at I think that's all I wanted to say, but we're going to look at the media swamp stocks really fast. So here's the problem. When I said Walt Disney might be okay. Okay. So the only stocks are 3M. It's Netflix went first. Let's do Netflix real fast. Netflix is lower than its 2020 lows, which are way up here. So there are two swamps, and it's going out of business. Period. That's what I decided. So here's tobacco. I know it's tobacco anyway. And then here's pharmaceutical. So it's tobacco and pharmaceutical are the two swamps. There's the Christmas isn't canceled peak, and here's the tanking after the corporate income tax went down. So that's the tobacco. So Netflix, Warner Brothers is going down anyway. I don't have the full stock for Fox and Warner Brothers, but I'm saying they're going down. Altria, okay, I wanted to show those. Walt Disney, what is it doing? Well, it is defense contractor. When I say that doesn't mean that because there's a huge, they sold a lot of stock to get Trump out or make sure that he didn't come in or to buy some politicians. So they're a little bit swampy with insider trading. And then they have definitely a huge pharmaceutical peak. And also they went with anyway. So they're bad. I said, they might survive and they might do this. No, they're done, and I think they're going to go out of business. I think they're going to fall below 2020. It's just too late now. And it's the same with Comcast. Look how bad that is. It's so bad it broke. So Netflix was the first to drop below the 2020 line. Then came Facebook. And there's Meta Platforms. And there it is. There's the tobacco. It kind of falters a little bit later. It's a little bit delayed at first, and then it went up, and then it just like Altria in a straight fashion. Like that looks so manipulated right there. And then it has the pharmaceutical. So this is pharmaceutical and tobacco, and it's going out of business. Period, because it's below. Netflix went first, then followed Meta, then came Comcast. It's going out of business, baby girl. There's just I don't see any. I was trying to make out maybe it's bouncing off something, but it's going out of business because it's below its 2020. And Disney is going out of business. Now, what's going on with Paramount? Paramount is the only stock I mentioned here, or the media, that's owned by Berkshire Hathaway. And look at this, if it doesn't look like a defense contractor swamp. So, is it also pharmaceutical swamp? I don't see the big pharmaceutical peak. This isn't a pharmaceutical. This is weird. I don't know what happened here. I think Berkshire Hathaway bought a bunch of stock there. But it's way down below. It does the 2000. It's doing the insider trading, and it's looking like it's just looking like a defense contractor swamp, and is owned by Berkshire Hathaway. So it's defense contractor, and guess what? It's also pharmaceutical from the indications. Remember, CBS is like the worst with all the mandates and everything. I got to get ready for work. So I could say this is where it's going to bounce. I could say it's going to bounce way down here. It's going to bounce and it's going to be okay because it's, they're going to do it. Or it's going out of business. I'm pretty sure. I'm going to say out of business because it's both defense contractor and pharmaceutical. And remember, the defense contractor swamp stocks haven't even started to tank yet. They haven't even started to tank. So this is kind of like, maybe is that 2021? That can't be it. No, this wasn't 2021. So this isn't the Christmas isn't canceled, but maybe it came before that. It came right after 2020. So it's going out of business, people. All the major people are going out or being bought. ABC, CBS, and NBC are going out of business. They're going to be bought or swallowed up. Is the main thing. But I got to get to work, and I'm going to go through every Dow stock. And the other thing I want to show you is really fast. Just show you the Dow. So when I did the Dow 30 stocks, I started with the lowest price first and went to the highest priced ones because it'll show you, I'm looking at Intel and I'm going, what the hell? Let's say you want to make October the best Dow month and you don't have enough money, what are you going to do? You're going to sell all your lowest price ones for money. Verizon and Intel are down here. Walgreens is tobacco, and I know it. And they're below. Oh, Walgreens was the other one that's below their 2020. So they're going out of business. So Walgreens, 3M, Netflix, I mentioned them all. I think there's like 5 of them. And they're all going out of business. But it's tobacco and pharmaceutical, because it's Walgreens, it's pharmaceutical. So not all pharmaceutical stocks had a big peak. So anyway. But there's a lot of the companies that have the lower stock prices were sold like crazy in October. And I think they're going to go up because there's no other indication that they're swampy. So I think Intel is low. I think Verizon might be swampy. Walgreens is going out of business. But Cisco too was also sold a lot, and they're at their bottom. They're at their bottoms, by the way. Oh, also Dow. I'll show you which ones are going up actually. So if there's a couple of stocks you want to buy, I'm gonna go through this. The next thing, and that's it. I gotta go. I gotta upload this and get out of here. Done. Bye. Everything's gonna be okay. Everybody, hang in there. Living my best life, and I hope everybody gets out the other side in one piece. PEACE. Let's upload this. Bye.